Welcome you tonight, and really thank you all for coming. It's getting busy out there. We went to eat at a restaurant, and sometimes when I've gone in the past, like at 5 o'clock-ish or so, it's pretty empty, but tonight it was just packed. So the Christmas season is ramping up, no doubt. So we're glad that you made it in. Was there a lot of traffic out there as well? Yeah. And a few others are, some have turned back. They put their hand to the plow and they turn back because this is such a hard city sometimes. Others have put their hand to the plow and they're still pressing on, and maybe they'll come in a moment. But we're glad that Lindsay Yessa is here, and such a blessing to have her here with us. And we've been supporting her now for a few years. She was in our missions conference a few years ago. It was a blessing that she was able to come to Tri-State Camp with us. And I don't know if were you going to tell how old were you when you came to our church? Like, were you in high school?
The first time I was in 8th grade.
8th grade. So I met her grandfather when I was preaching in upstate New York, up by Niagara Falls, in Cheektowaga, right near Buffalo, beside Buffalo. And so I stayed in the home of her grandfather, which was completely coincidental or providential. I was just speaking in a church, and he was the host family, and we became friends in some kind of way and had a connection. So he would visit our church and has visited our church many times through the years. So Lindsay came when she was in the 8th grade. What a blessing. And she came again another time with them. So now she has a heart for missions. And really, God has done it, but God uses family as well to stir up that heart, So Lindsay, you come, share your ministry with us. We're so happy that you could be here with us tonight. And you could just adjust that. There you go. Yeah, we're good.
So happy to be here. You guys have been just such a special church of supporters to me. So just wanted to give a little bit of update over the last little bit, and I'll give a little bit of background. Do I just hit the arrow?
Oh, I'm so sorry. If you just hit this, and that will advance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
you want
okay.
to advance it? Yeah, you just hit that.
Okay. Got it. Okay. I can handle this. So just my background, I grew up in Buffalo, near the Buffalo area, as Pastor Matt said, and lived there till high school. And I really grew up in a family that was very missions minded. My grandparents were always having missionaries in their home, and my parents as well. I never thought I'd be a missionary, and I actually had an aunt and uncle that served in Togo, West Africa, when I was a child, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I remember standing at the airport watching them fly off and then come back, 4 years later, and that was really exciting as a child. Carried on with my life, went to college, got a job in sales, never thought I would pursue missions at all. I traveled with Medical Missions Outreach in college. And I just thought, this is great. This is an opportunity for me to serve in missions once a year for 10 days. And I have no medical background. I have a bachelor's degree in exercise science, so I can work a little bit with physical therapy, but that's kind of the extent of my medical skill set. And so I just kind of pursued my career and ended up in the field of efficiency and logistics. It's kind of an odd thing, both in construction and in the sales world. And the Lord was just preparing my heart just for that skill set to cross paths with missions. And so in 2021, someone I had told years prior that I was like, when you retire, I'm thinking in 25 years, 30 years, that I could take her job. And she called me and she asked if I would be willing to pursue a full-time career in missions. And I was like, really funny that I happened to be without a job and without, I was pursuing a second degree at the time. And so the Lord just opened up the door for me to pursue this full-time. So I joined as a missionary to Medical Missions Outreach in 2021, and then I moved in 2022 to the Atlanta area where our home office is. Oh, wait, this is the wrong way. Got it. So my job title is called a Team Operations Coordinator. You might not be able to read all those words, but so I have kind of a dual role. I have both home office responsibilities, and then I have field responsibilities. So some of that goes into preparing for our trip. So I pack all of our supplies, for our lab and triage, and then I am responsible to get our supplies on the field. So, for example, we are going to Togo in January, and we are taking 10 team members, and we have 9 pieces of luggage. So not everyone is flying out of Atlanta, so I can't just add a second bag to everyone flying. So I have to mail some things. Sometimes we'll take like a physical therapy table, and I will Amazon Prime that to someone, and they'll check that as their second piece of luggage. So I just look at all the different things and how I can most effectively and cost effectively get that to happen. We were in Cambodia a couple months ago, and we took 29 pieces of supply luggage with us. So part of my job is doing that for every single trip that our ministry takes, not just the ones that I am on. So that's a big part of my home office responsibility. And then I manage all of our incoming donations and just storing all of our warehouse things and things like that. So that's kind of my home office. And then when we get on the field, I typically travel about 7 to 9 times a year to different countries, and I set up our clinic. So I kind of look at the space that we're in. So we might be in a room this size, or we might be in a school building with multiple classrooms. We might be in a church building. Sometimes we're out in a field with some tents. It just kind of varies depending on the country and what they can offer for us. And so kind of the flow of how we can handle a large crowd, as well as how they can come in the clinic, be seen by a provider, set up the pharmacy and labs and optical and all the different parts of our clinics, and make sure that we have patients being given the best care possible. So that's kind of my thing. And then I also make sure our team members are doing well. So we typically bring about 40 to 50 team members on each of our short-term trips. So a little bit about MMO, how we are set up. So we do episodic care. So we do medical, optical care. We take recycled eyeglasses that we recycle through our office in Georgia. We basically take someone's old pair of glasses, run them through a machine, write the prescription on them, bag them, box them up, and then we take about 4,000 pairs on every trip. And then we have an autorefractor that scans their vision or their prescription, and then we find one that matches closely. And then we do dental care, physical therapy care. And we've recently started partnering with some of our churches, doing soul care, which is biblically informed counseling. And we also have a surgical center in Honduras where we do about 6 to 7 trips a year. And we can do about 20 surgeries. So we take the bottom of their list at the hospital, and we take those and offer free surgeries. We, at this stage of the game, are typically doing between 17 and 19 trips as a ministry a year. And that's all over. So that could be, we go to Peru and we split to 3 different cities in the same week. So we'll send 3 teams out at the same time. But we're typically kind of all over the map as far as countries go. We're in Central America, South America, Africa, and we are in Asia as well. Oops. I messed it up.
No, that's okay. Don't worry about it. We're good.
Okay. So there's just a few pictures of some countries that I've served in this last year, and then I have a few stats for you guys. So in 2025, we finished our travel season, and we start back over the first week of January. We took 17 trips, and that was in 14 different countries, and I was on 7 of those trips. And we saw over 29,000 patients, and 4,000 of those patients expressed starting a relationship with Christ. And kind of how our clinics work is a patient will come in the door, and they will see a provider, and while they're waiting for their medicine or their glasses, they will have a one-on-one gospel conversation with someone from the local church that we are partnering with. And then after they have that conversation, then they will receive their medications and their glasses at the very end. And a key part of our ministry is having that local church body. Just a quick story about that. So I was in Cambodia in October, and I was just kind of checking on everyone, and I popped over to our optical clinic, and our optical director was kind of like, hey, and I looked over and I saw a patient, and I was like, they need to be in medical. I could just tell by looking at them. And there was a 74-year-old lady that weighed 80 pounds. So I immediately walked her over to our medical clinic just to have a quick assessment. And she had looked at me and she goes, what are we doing? And I was like, well, I just noticed that you were having a hard time standing up, and I just wanted to have one of our doctors look at you. And she goes, I'm just here for glasses. And we had a conversation, and she said that she hadn't had money for food in weeks. And it's very humbling, as I watched a lot of people throw away a lot of food all over the United States, and even our own team members in other countries. And I was like, okay. So I was like, just sit here for a minute. And I went into every one of our team members, and I was like, I need everyone to give me a snack. And so we gave her an assessment. She was physically fine. She was just starving. And I went to the pastor of the church, and I asked, I was like, is there anything we can do? And he was like, yes, we will feed her. And it just was a reminder that we always have these big grand ideas of how I can fix the problem. And I was like, she just needed a meal, and she needs a meal every day. And if we didn't have partner with the local church, she would not have been continued to be fed. And we come into town for 10 days and then we leave. But by partnering with the local church, someone that can share the gospel with her, someone that can be there long after we've left, is a key part of the long-term discipleship. So that was just something that was kind of a highlight of my year, just like seeing that local church just step in and just really fulfill a need for her. And then another highlight, I was telling Pastor, we went to Pohnpei, which is a tiny island in Micronesia. And actually, the guy holding the sign, his name is Tyson. He is 45 years old. He has Down syndrome. And our director actually went to Pohnpei to do a survey trip before we went, and met him. And they asked, like, hey, there's something growing on his eye. He had a type of cancer in his eye. And we were able to work with some of our eye doctors out of Ohio, and Ohio State actually sponsored him and did his surgery for free. And so he's actually doing really well. But we showed up to the island of Pohnpei, and they're like, so sorry, our bus is down. But we called everyone that we know that has a car from the 7 churches that are Baptist on the island, and they all met us at the airport. And it was just such a blessing to have people from different churches, not even just the church we were serving with, just surround us and be a part of the ministry. They're like, hey, this is not our church, but we want to be here to serve. And they translated, they fed us, and they just had the goal of the gospel going forth in that city that we were working in. So they just dropped everything to serve alongside us. So just some more stats for you. So we took over 600 team members with us this year. And it's always amazing to think about how many eyeglasses we take. We took 4,000 on every trip. I didn't calculate that out, but we handed out over 19,000 pairs of eyeglasses, and none of them are brand new. So it's one of those things that's a really cool opportunity to take someone's glasses. They can be used, they can be sunglasses, they can be reading glasses, they can be prescription. We can use all of them. And we also did over 70 surgical cases, which is life-changing for a lot of different people in Honduras. So we're looking to, in the future, do different surgical centers in other countries, but right now we're only in Honduras. And I think one of a cool fact about our ministry is that anyone can be used. We always focus on the medical and the physical therapy and the dental and the optical, but we have teachers and we have accountants and we have some retired people and we have children that have served alongside us. I always say you can count to 30 that you can serve on one of our mission trips, because our pharmacy counts all of our dosing in doses of 30. So anyone can be served. Anyone can serve alongside us. And then, this is going to mess up. Okay. And then a few things just to pray over. We are looking for more staff. The one thing about, we get asked all the time about partnering with local churches all over the world, but we just do not have the staff to continue to fill those trips and take the teams. And then just pray for us as we are doing trip prep. I was just sharing with Pastor as well. We have a trip scheduled to Togo in January, and last week the missionary reached out to us telling us that there has been an attack on his ministry from a local witch doctor. And so we're just really praying over their ministry, that he would be protected, and then as well as God would just go before us as we prepare for this trip, that we would be able to have our clinic and that we'd be able to serve the people in Togo. And then just protection over our staff and our ministry. We are constantly fighting flight delays, where all sorts of different things are constantly disrupting our lives, and it's very easy to get discouraged. And so just would ask that you guys would just pray over our ministry in that fact. So any questions or anything?
Yeah, I have a question. I think, and Hillary, you can ask as well. It's very fascinating, and it's a fascinating ministry. So my first question is, you oversee the putting together of like these 27 suitcases
Yes.
of different things. So is that hard to get through security, or do
Sometimes.
they look through the things, or do they ever take things away, and what kind of, or is it medicine? What kind of supplies are in there?
So typically, if we take a full pharmacy, so we usually have 9 like big trunks of medications on every trip, 9 to 10, and then if we take dental, that's always 10 pieces. We bring a dental chair, we bring the suction, we bring the drill, we bring the whole anything you get done at the dental office here. We bring all of that with us. We can do fillings, we can do extractions. We have a dental X-ray. We have a sterilization, autoclave, the whole thing. We do the same standard of care in the U.S. abroad. And then our eyeglasses and all those things adds up.
I see. So let's say like the dental care, the dental chair, that's something that you typically now know how to pack, or it has its own specific
It has its
type
own
of
specific case where I have
case.
custom carved foam for it.
Okay, very good. Wow, you did it yourself? Or
Yes, I need the liquid foam, and then
Okay.
you have to do it really fast and like throw it all in and shut it really quick and then sit on it. I failed twice, but the last time, nailed it.
Nailed it. Got that dental chair in. Okay, Hillary, did you have a question?
I do have a couple. Do you get permission from the countries that you're going?
Yes, so
Okay,
we always
so
have permissions in every
Can
country.
Repeat the question for the people on Zoom.
Oh, do we have permissions to the countries we go to? We always file permissions for every clinic that we bring. So we file permissions for the optical clinic, for the dental clinic, and for the medical clinic.
Is there an expectation that you have to provide people's licenses to do what specific work that they're going to do?
Repeat.
So she's asking if we provide licensing and information to the government. So depending on the country, they all require different. So we were in Thailand, and they required all of our nurses to file for a Thailand nursing license. So we'll sometimes do all that for them. We will always submit all of their licensure as well.
And how do you get the supplies that you need? Is it through different companies, or is it money that you raise to do the supplies?
So
Repeat.
yeah, so she's asking about how we get the supplies. Do we raise money, or we get the medicine? So we kind of go about different ways. We've had churches sponsor a specific pharmacy. So it typically costs around $5,000 to cover a pharmacy for a trip. We do give away a lot of over-the-counter medication, and a lot of that is donated. So people will just go on Amazon and ship us children's Tylenol or allergy medication or ibuprofen. And then some countries where permissions might be more difficult, we will actually purchase, if they have good standard of medication, we will purchase medicine in certain countries. Not all medication is created equal depending on the country that we buy it in.
I do have one last question, because what do you do in situations where you're in a country and you have to take care of a patient that you know you don't have the equipment, the medication, they don't have the hospital? How do you handle those difficult situations?
The question is, what do we do with a patient that's beyond what we can do, and they might not have access to continuing care? I remembered.
Yeah.
So we do partner with like that local church, and often we do as well have a local medical provider for contact in that country. We had a team in Madagascar in September, and there was 2 orthopedic cases with children, and they were beyond our care. There was no hospital that could even touch these cases, so we contacted Shriners, and they set up the whole thing, and they flew them over here and had surgery within a few months. So we have a few contacts. A lot of times we do rely on that local church, and we do ask them to try to have someone we can reach out to if we need referral of care, or if we need to know, okay, this is something we can obtain if we need to. Sometimes we will go to the local hospital with them as well.
So sometimes you fly patients to the States, or you have
We have.
in certain situations.
Mhm.
That's a blessing. So I have another question. If you have other question, we could take I think it's very interesting. So as far as doctors who come with you on your trips, are they volunteering just for that particular trip, or do you have some doctors who come on multiple trips, or are they specialists, or what kind of doctors? Where do you find them from?
Okay, so the question is who kind of travels with us to the medical provider. So typically we'll have like a doctor, so you might have like a general practitioner, like a primary care doctor. They'll just sign up for a trip. They'll come on their trip for 10 days, and that might be all we see them for the year. We have some that do multiple trips a year. We have a pediatric cardiologist that travels with us, and he usually does 1 or 2 trips a year. And he's able to kind of do more diagnostic, and he's usually very busy in clinic doing ultrasounds and kind of doing more diagnostic care. It just depends. We have a few retired team members that do 5 trips a year. They're like, this is how I want to spend my retirement, and they're like, this gives me the opportunity. And they all fundraise for themselves. So our typical trips cost between $2,500 to $3,000, and so they will raise that money for themselves, and they will come on a trip.
So this pediatric cardiologist, he has his own practice here.
Correct.
But he travels with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's really a blessing.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you interact with like Doctors Without Borders or any of the established organizations here in the United States when you travel?
The question is, do we interact with Doctors Without Borders or any other interactive nonprofits? We do not typically. We have some overlap where we might pass along some information, but we are pretty much kind of in our own lane. We have a few partners that we've crossed paths with over time, but we're pretty much in our own lane.
What kind of gospel presentations then are you able to give to the patients? Are they done by the people from the church of the nation you're going, or by people who are traveling with you, or a combination?
So the gospel is shared specifically from someone from that local church, so they're hearing the gospel in their heart language. So no one on our team is sharing the gospel. It's someone from that local church. So either a pastor, the pastoral staff, some of their deacons, some of their church members become the evangelism team. So it's not our team that comes. We provide the medical care, we provide the vehicle for the reaching out in their community, and they provide the evangelism.
I think that's good, because the connection there can remain then after you're gone. If they're leading them to the Lord or praying with them, that connection is made for a long term.
We found it's much more helpful for discipleship after.
Yeah.
I have one more question.
Sure, Hattie?
Does everyone in your group speak the language where you're going, or how do you communicate with the...
The question is, does everyone speak the language? And the answer is no. We do ask our host missionary or host pastor to provide translators. And typically we are good with that. They usually have enough. Sometimes we're a little short. I can speak like 12 phrases in Spanish. That's a goal of mine for this next year. I'm going to Spanish school. So we usually have enough translators to be able to communicate effectively.
How do you pick the local partner that you work with?
The question is how we pick the local partner. So we are always invited. So usually a pastor or a missionary will reach out on our website and fill out a host inquiry form, and our director will kind of vet them out to make sure we're of like faith and doctrinally aligned, and then we kind of go from there as far as figuring out when we can schedule. And then there's a lot of logistics that go into it. If they can host a team of 40 Americans coming abroad, and hotel and food and transportation and all those things. Esther?
So those groups, like, are they all coming from different places, or like would say like a group of church, like a whole church, be able to go on one trip to, you know, out of all those scheduled trips?
So like our teams are usually comprised, the question is about how our teams are broken up. So our teams are comprised of all different groupings. So sometimes we'll have a church bring like 5 people, and then we might have no church groups on any trip. But we make it easy for churches to travel because they just all sign up, and then we do the airfare, the food, the transportation, and all those things. And it takes that burden off of churches for putting that mission trip together. But it just depends on the trip, and they can usually pick any trip. And we do group contracts if churches are interested, or people can just sign up individually for the same trip.
So a church could sign up to go on a mission trip with you, and then it would just be a contract. We would pay MMO, and you would organize.
We do all the things.
All the logistics, the air flights, the airfare, and everything.
You just be part of the team. You just be your church body on the road with us.
Simplify it for the churches, then,
Yeah.
you say. So is there anything more you could share? Just so we have 2 lines here in our prayer bulletin to pray for Lindsay tonight. And could you maybe very specifically say what they can write in there as far as a prayer request, and as well, can you re-summarize the threats from the witch doctor in Togo and your
Sure.
upcoming trip? Can you
Sure.
just re-emphasize that?
So just some prayer requests. I'm at the very tail end of my deputation, so I'm just praying for that last 3%, which is kind of always a moving target. My support raising fluctuates based on my trip budget. So this year I was in really far away countries. I was in Cambodia, the Philippines, Pohnpei. They're more expensive trips. Next year I'm in the Dominican Republic and Honduras and closer trips, so that does fluctuate a little bit. So I'm just trying to get that last little bit. So that is a prayer request. I've had some minor health issues in the last year that I'm kind of working through, finding the right medication balance. So if you could pray for that. And then for our trip to Togo, I'm very excited about it. That's kind of my first. Togo is the first country I knew a missionary to, so it's very close to my heart. A witch doctor took video and pictures from the missionary in their clinic there, and posted them on TikTok, and it went viral, saying that they were poisoning children and killing them in the community. And so this missionary has had his house raided multiple times by the government and other people, and they have said that it's unsafe for Americans to come, and they're making all these threats to this missionary family, and just so his name is Mike Napper. If you want to pray specifically for him and just his family that's over there, I know it's really heavy on his heart, having his family there and just being under attack by
Is he a national pastor?
He's not. He's an American.
And he's under attack.
He's under attack. So the government is supposed to go. They removed all of our permissions that we had to go into the country. So we are refiling them this week, and then the government is going back to his clinic again I think next week. And so we're kind of in a fluctuation of what to do as a ministry. He said still come, and we can do other things. So just pray for us as a ministry, just knowing when we're taking 10 other people with us, we want to keep them safe, but we also want to encourage this missionary, and just pray for his safety and his just the spiritual warfare over his family. And it's very heavy.
Very good, Pastor Mike Napper. He's a pastor.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Give her a hand. That was a blessing. Great. It's really good to get more understanding of all that Lindsay does. And you must be very busy, both in office and putting all these things together, trips you're going on and trips you're not going on, and sitting on suitcases to close them so that the dental chairs get to where they're going. So you have that's physical labor as well. Yeah, a lot of physical work going in there. So that's great.